Hello, everyone. How are you, dear?
I'm already in the show.
Yeah,
Just
you're
a,
here.
oh, perfect.
You are
I'm
here.
is that a cat, or are you just happy to see me?
it's it's my heiress.
Oh,
Yes.
right. I've been super excited to be here, my dear. We were supposed to do this about a month ago, but unfortunately, work and life got in the way. But I thought nothing is going to stop us now. Just like
The song.
Jefferson Starship sang.
Yes, I knew you were going to go there. See that? Did you hear me? Just like the song you were going to say.
That's right.
So, my dear friend Ron, oh, I love this man. For anybody that doesn't know and hasn't seen him on my show before, Ron Murphy is probably one of my most favorite guests I've had on because he's been on what? How many times? 5, 6 times now?
About 5 or 6 times. Yeah, probably about a half a dozen times now.
He's an amazing, like just it's like there's the knowledge you have, the knowledge you possess of everything is just fascinating to me. Because you definitely have knowledge in every single aspect of the paranormal. I could bring up Bigfoot, Mothman, Loch Ness Monster, ghosts, equipment. It doesn't matter. You have an educational background in, and it's just amazing. Are you one of those people that can read just with your hand really quick?
You know what? I can't. I'm actually a notoriously slow reader. I always have been all my life. I like to really spend a lot of time and absorb what I'm reading. So I never rush through anything. But I will tell you this: the paranormal has been a passion of mine since I've been a kid. And it has been said by people, psychologists and such, that if you do something every single day for even minutes a day for 10 years, you can become an expert at it. So for me, my hobby and my desire and my interest has always been the paranormal. So I've always been doing something with it since I've been a child. So look, 45 years I've been dealing with something on a daily basis in relation to the paranormal. So it's the thing is like, so to give people a little bit of background, we've been talking for a while now. I've been on your show for, quite a few times, but I actually just finally met you for the first time a few months ago at the Gettysburg Battlefield match. Right.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
so I'm also a fanboy of these things. Right. So whenever I go there, I was enamored to see you. I was so excited to see the other celebrities that were there. And it really does. It's like, I can't believe I'm here with these people, let alone being asked to speak. So I still go into the world of the paranormal very wide-eyed and I have a lot of wanderlust in me. There's a lot of people in this field that have become jaded. And I will tell you this as much too. This is a hard field to maintain friends in, isn't it? Like, there's a lot of people out there that will stab you in the back. There's a lot of people that will jockey for position and use you in any which way that they can. And I really am starting to get a little bit sick about this kind of stuff. So I just did a talk in Dallas, right, with Josh Turner for the second annual Dogman conference. And it was on my way back that I was actually getting phone calls from people that disagreed with me because I did a show with him because other people had a beef with him, And there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And it's very sad that we have to be in that position. It's not high school anymore. Look,
Right.
we are all trying to get to the bottom of some sort of great mystery out there. You know, this might be the mystery of life itself, right? When we get to the very core of what we're talking about. And for somebody to say, you can't do this because I have problems with somebody else's personality, I have no time for that. So if that is the case, I don't want to be a member of any kind of group or anything. I'd prefer to freelance. But I really feel that with you, I've always felt safe on the Paranormal Brew. I've always felt like I've been a friend and I've been wanted, and I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, that was so nice. That was a very nice little intro. And I appreciate it. And yes, I do. Believe me. I have found myself sometimes in the thick of that stuff. You know what I mean? Um, for me, you know, I handle things very differently. If it's personally done to me, I handle it myself. I don't
Mhm.
expect anybody to not talk to anybody. I mean, it depends, right, on the degree of the friendship, and it depends on the situation as well. You have to take those two things into factor too. You know, you can't just, if it's my best friend and somebody does something terrible to that person. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing. But if it's just high school stuff, as you speak about,
Mhm.
it's like I put people at arm's length. I don't expect anybody to not talk to somebody, or you know what I mean? There's me.
Right,
You might have a
right,
different
right,
relationship with somebody.
right. And if you were my friend and you wanted to go do something with somebody that I had a problem with, that's really controlling of me as being your friend and saying you can't do that, right? I mean, you should be able to do anything you want to in this field and not feel like I'm going to lose a friend if I do this. This is so childish. I've never seen anything like it. And I see it continually time and time again. But I soldier on because, like I said, I still have such a desire to be out there among people like you. And I'm glad there are people out there like you and your listeners. I see a couple people in here that I've already met previously, and these are the people that really keep me going.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. You get those people that you click with, like Jossie right here. That's one of my best friends. I see us like 90 years old and like still laughing our asses off. You know what I mean? Like she's just one of those. So
Absolutely.
you gotta keep those people, close. Danger, because his name's close, but Danger's another one. He's
Right.
one of my best friends. Like I know that I could trust him no matter what. So there's people that
Sure.
and then you have people at arm's length, and and I get it. I mean, it's so much anymore. You know what I mean? I feel like when I first started, it wasn't that bad. I mean,
No.
you've heard of shit happening. You know what I mean? You heard of people arguing, or you heard of stuff happening here and there. But I mean, maybe because the internet has grown, so it's a lot easier for people to maybe it's always been going on and we just didn't see it because we had the lack of the social media and stuff out there.
Right.
But who knows?
No, I think
And it's in
yeah,
every
you
type
hit
of a group. It's in every type of a
yep,
group. It's not
yep.
just the paranormal.
Right, right. But you've hit the nail on the head too. So many trolls are out there nowadays on the internet that I mean, there's this anonymity. You can get behind an avatar and you can say whatever you want to say about somebody and not worry about the repercussions. It's like throwing grenades, something's going to
Absolutely.
hit sometime. And,
Yeah.
and I don't have very thick skin either. I go into this field, hey, this is who I am. I'm not putting on any kind of pretensions. I'm basically, an open book, and a lot of people see that as weakness. And yep, right. So, and people take advantage of that, Taryn. Right? People see somebody that is caring and that is malleable, and is somebody that is willing to lend an ear, and not only lend an ear to listen, but also open up a forum for people to discuss their opinions and their viewpoints. That is something that a lot of people attack, take advantage of, use, and once they used everything they can get out of you, and they suck you dry like a vampire, they leave your corpse behind and they go off to bigger and better things. But thank you, and thank you to a lot of your listeners that there are still people out there that give me faith.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. That's what keeps us going, right? It keeps us going when we click with people that have the same motivations, that have the same morals, the same consciousness, the same, um, you know, what they get out of doing this. For a lot of us, it's a lifestyle, and it's a passion. You know what I mean? And you don't want to lose that passion. There's been times where I've come close because of the
Right,
crap going on around. Where I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I? This is supposed to be fun for me.
right,
Uh,
right, right.
and you just gotta like eventually just draw the line and be like, it's not fun anymore. I'm out. I'm done. Like,
Right.
um, and then you choose a different path. And then it just, you gotta protect yourself sometimes too. You know what I mean?
You do. Yeah.
Um, because you know, I am by default. I'm a trusting person up front.
Yep. Yep.
And more and more that's been changing because the more and more you get digged over, you know what I mean? The less
That's
you're like,
right.
all right, I'm going to give this a minute before, I put all my eggs in this basket or something. You know what I mean?
Right. I do. I
Pushing it,
do.
because that's not
Yeah.
me. Like you, I'm an open book. I'm
Yeah.
100%. What you see is what you get. If I act like an asshole, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather have a conversation about it, like
Yeah.
face to face. I am confrontational. Like, I will address shit with somebody right away,
Right.
um, to that person,
Yeah.
and people they think that's a bitch, or they don't like that, and
Yeah.
you're just being honest.
That's just being honest. I will tell you, for the people that listen to you, for the folks that have never met you, because again, I've only met you for the first time a couple months ago. You do change the energy of the room. Let's put it that way. People are immediately drawn to you. They love you. They gravitate towards you, and I really truly count myself as very proud and lucky to have you as a friend.
Same, Ron. You know what else? I wish we had more time together at Getty's. I don't know how that didn't happen. We were. It's almost like
Yeah.
we kept crossing paths. I was happy to be able to see
Yeah.
your lecture.
Oh yes, I was glad as well too. I think there was a lot of things. I think one thing is it was a huge gathering, right? There was a lot of things going on at once, and I noticed that the lectures were not being announced. That was I think something that could be addressed in the future. But the people that were there wanted to be there. It was a great networking and meeting a lot of folks there, and I would gladly do it again. And I hope I do get invited back. But for you to have met me for that brief period of time, and I know that your attentions were being pulled all over the place. So I
Yeah.
do appreciate you spending 45 minutes with me.
Oh, would you stop it? No, we talked, but then I did make it to your lecture. It was so good. I loved it.
No, thank
I
you.
I never could get bored listening to you. Like, you just knowledge just everywhere. Like, all right, so let's talk about, well, you want to talk about Dallas for a little bit, or no?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, Dallas was so last year. The first Dogman Conference was held in Paris, Tennessee, which was a manageable drive. For me, it was probably about 9 hours. Okay, and Dallas, Texas, is a 2 day trip from me, so it was 2 12-hour days to get there. Right, but I took two of my kids with me. I took Willow and Sterling with me. They had never been there before, and it was great bonding with my kids in that way. And I didn't think about killing them one time, and that says a lot because usually I'm not even out of Pennsylvania yet, and I want to strangle them. So they were very excited to go as well too. And we get there, and again, the fan base is absolutely amazing. Very intelligent people. Ken Gearhart, Lyle Blackburn was there. Let's see here. Adam Davies was there, and uh, Ron Moorhead. There were a lot of the big names, right? It was kind of like a who's who was there, and I'm looking around. I thought, what in the heck am I doing here? And like I said, it is one of those things where I feel very flattered that people ask me to come along. And Anne Celine, who is an up and comer in this field, she's written one book already, and she asked me whenever I met her in Paris, Tennessee last year, if we would want to do a project together. So the lecture that I gave down there was actually with Anne, and it was kind of a multicultural outlook on what the dog man means to contemporary society. And I thought it was a very, very good, good a trip. I thought it was a great lecture, and I would be happy to be there. Very difficult thing to pull off.
Do you believe in the dog man?
I believe that the okay. So as far as like a flesh and blood, oh, see, this is a very loaded question. Um, from a historical perspective, do werewolves exist? And absolutely, werewolves have existed for thousands of years. They're in our literature. But does that mean that it's somebody transforming into an animal? Does it mean that it's some sort of unidentified cryptid? It could mean a lot of things to a lot of people, and it's a slippery slope. But yes, the dogman definitely does exist in theory, that it's part of our collective unconscious, and it's a part of our imagination. And whenever I go out in the woods and it's dark and I hear a twig break, I think that there might be a dogman out there. That's just the way it goes. It's really one of those fears that is primordial and very ancient within us. But I think there could be, and you always have to put a little bit of caveat out there. I think that there is a possibility that there is a cryptid out there that people are calling the dogman, for lack of a better words. I don't think that it's a canine of any means or anything like that. I think it's probably some sort of unidentified animal, especially when you look at things that happened over in places like France during the French and Indian War. Whenever it was being fought here, over in France, they had a werewolf problem. This was in the mid 1700s into the early 1760s, and there was a creature over there that was preying upon peasants in the farming vicinity of a place called Gévaudan. As many as 600 people were killed. It was something that the King of France actually took very seriously and sent out their royal huntsmen to try to hunt it down. There was one wolf that was killed, and it was a particularly large wolf, but that obviously wasn't it, because the killings continued. And one of the townspeople named Jean Chastel actually went out there with a silver bullet of all things, tracked down this animal and shot it. And they were taking the corpse back to the king, and it rotted along the way, and there is no trace of it now in history. But the contemporary reports called it, it was like a wolf, but not a wolf. Some people reported it to be the size of a cow. So contemporary research is considering, could this have been an African big cat or something like that, a lion or a leopard? We know that Jean Chastel, the person that killed this creature, had a menagerie. At this time in Europe, people would have private zoos to show that they were culturally sophisticated. So we know Jean Chastel did have a menagerie, and in that menagerie, he had a hyena. And some people are saying that it might have been a hyena that got out, and maybe that's the reason Chastel knew how to find it and locate it and kill it and everything like that. But as far as people claiming that they're werewolves, yeah, absolutely. 1598. Right around 1598, we had a person in Bedburg, Germany, that was killing people. He was killing livestock and drinking their blood. He was killing women and children. He particularly was fond of killing pregnant women so he could rip out the fetus and eat the fetus. He was one of these kind of guys. And he claimed that he was in the
Sounds
woods.
like a real winner.
Yeah, oh yeah. It was. He was in the woods. He met a figure that he believed was Satan. This creature, this entity,
Did he look in the mirror?
gave him a belt that was magical. Yep. Put the belt on, and he transformed into a werewolf. And he was captured, and he was eventually executed.
Wow, that's like some really sad, deep, horrible stuff. So people
It
think
is.
that this was like true.
Well, sure. The people at the time, absolutely, without question, believed that this was actually true. So what they did was they decided that they were going to put him on public display, and they executed him by breaking him, which means that they would break every bone in his body. They would start at the fingers and then slowly move up, and then the bigger bones like the femur and all that stuff would be towards the end, because it takes a little bit more to break. So as he's sitting there completely crushed, they decided, at that point, you're going to start a fire and you're going to burn him to death, right?
Oh
So as
God,
the fire,
I
yeah,
love torture.
yeah. So as the fire is leaping up around him and he's slowly succumbing to the flames, they decided to bring out his adolescent daughter to watch her father being executed. And then the townspeople thought, wait a second, this blood line might continue in the daughter. So they threw her into the fire, and she was completely innocent of anything. So
Yeah.
what I bring up whenever I give this talk is that these people were acting more violently and more heinously than the person they were executing. So whenever we think about,
Well,
dogmen, and we think about projection,
did you say he was ripping fetuses out and eating them?
right. So he was doing it probably because he had a mental health issue, right? I mean, these are things that will be overlooked, regardless of what his excuse was. But these people were carrying out justice, right? This was in the name of God, and they were taking an innocent person.
Yeah, no, that's like
And
torture. I mean, just shoot them in the head or something. But I
right,
guess
right,
if he made them, if he made those people suffer what he did. I mean, listen,
right.
I'm guilty. How many times do I say, "Oh, when you hear some like horrific stuff on the news or whatever," I'm always like, "You know what they need to do with them? You need to put them behind bars and then do exactly what they did to that person, so they know what it feels like." You know what I mean? So I'm guilty
I do.
of
I do. That's right. No, I understand that completely. And I think we all have that kind of vigilante outlook within us because we don't like to see innocent people taking advantage of. But I think the whole thing with the daughter is really would get
yes,
would
no,
get
that I
me.
don't agree with.
But yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I
That's right.
don't agree with
But
that.
if
Yeah.
you look at some of the medieval if you look at some of the medieval iconography, you will see people that claim that they were werewolves and they were painted or drawn. They were depicted as not being turning into a werewolf. They were depicted as having disheveled hair and ripped and wrinkled clothing, which shows a sign of mental illness. So even at that particular period, the people that were investigating werewolves assumed that there was something wrong psychologically. If that was brought upon by a demon or by a witch or whatever, that was one thing, but they did believe there was a psychological problem. You can see one famous etching, and I'm trying to think about who it was. Oh gosh, I can't remember who it was, but it was a famous sketch of a werewolf, and it was just a person down on all fours, not changed into any kind of animal or anything like that, and in its mouth was a crying baby. So
Oh,
that's how some of this was depicted. Yeah.
um, interesting. I don't know if I want to like. Do people go dog man or werewolf hunt? It's like, is that what a dog man is? Basically, a werewolf. Like,
Well, I think the
when I
jury's
asked about
still
dog
out.
man, you brought up werewolves or something, or so I
Right,
didn't
right.
know if they, Bigfoot has there's Sasquatch, there's Yeti, there's Bigfoot. I didn't know if that's what you were meaning when because I said dog man, but you said werewolf. So
Right. Excellent question. So when we talk about the idea of the dog man, that is all fairly new. This comes from parts of Wisconsin, parts of Michigan, that Great Lakes area, and it wasn't until Linda Godfrey started to investigate these kind of these kind of encounters that we get the name dog man. But that's a fairly new term. But I know that from the late 1800s in northern Michigan, people reported seeing canines walking on two legs, and people have reported being chased around by a pack of two-legged canines. But there are also some anecdotal stories about a person that took refuge in a tree as a creature stalked them. A large wolf on two legs. And the person that was witnessing this encounter said that the wolf actually reached into its pocket and pulled out a bit of snuff. So these kind of things are really weird as well, too. A lot of them, sure, are imagination. But for the most part, what people were seeing, that loggers were going into these immense woodlands and they were reporting things in there of something that looked like a canine but walked on two legs and acted intelligently. So as far as a dog man, that's basically because the werewolf actually just means an intelligent wolf or a man wolf anyway. So dog man and werewolf are kind of synonymous. Neither one of them implicates that there's a transformation that takes place, but our later werewolf belief does state that there's a transformation of one form into another.
Wouldn't that be like a shapeshifter?
It could be. See, now this is where we start getting into a lot deeper type of Native American. Well, not only that, but the Native Americans really put up the idea of shape shifting. We see in the Hopi culture, we have wolf kachitas where there is a transformation of a man into an animal. We have the Navajo beliefs of skinwalkers, that were basically, corrupt witches that were using black magic in their culture, not in the Judeo-Christian culture, but they were using magic for very evil purposes, and they were then able to transform into a bloodthirsty animal. Because whenever you talk about skinwalkers, there's never a positive connotation to it. It's always very negative. It's always very, very frightening. Yeah. So, you have that in Native American cultures, but then you also have Western European cultures when we talk about the idea of fairies and elementals being able to shapeshift into other forms as well. So again, England has a place called Cannock Chase, which is supposed to be, a hotbed for werewolves. Ireland has a lot of associations with werewolf mythology there as well too. So it really depends upon where you go and how that culture derives its foundation for the werewolf myths.
Wow. So this has been going back like how many now? See, and you to go back to your other story. There's already there's already questions in it because the body disintegrated. Like, how long did it take for them to get the body to you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right. So people on foot back then, we're probably talking about 200 miles on foot. So probably around like 10 or 20 days. Yeah. A long time, a long time. But as far as how far this goes back, we could probably trace the word lichen, where we get lycanthrope right now. We could probably trace that back to at least as part of an oral tradition, probably 3,000 years ago. It's that
Lichen, isn't
ancient.
that vampire related?
The lichen it means wolf, so you have a
Oh, does it?
lycanthrope, and that is a werewolf, right?
Huh.
Yeah,
Why did I think vampire?
because in underworld with
Oh, they're called lichens. That's right.
lichens.
That's
Yep,
why.
yep, yep, yep,
Yep.
yep,
That's so
yep.
funny. I love vampire movies.
Oh, I
But
do too. I do, and I like it whenever there's vampires and werewolves together.
you do?
It's a
I'm not a
bigger,
big
it's a
were
better, it's a party.
I'm not a big werewolf fan.
Well, okay, let's put it this way. Say, for instance, I was a werewolf, and we were over in Romania several hundred years ago. I was a werewolf, and somehow I die. Somehow you're able to put me out of my physical misery. That werewolf then could come back in ghostly form as a vampire.
Really?
Yep, really, really, really. That was a belief over there in Eastern Europe. And of course, when Bram Stoker's Dracula, we do see the vampire shape shifting not only into a bat but also into a wolf as well. So
Oh yeah.
they're very closely assimilated.
Yeah, that's true. I still would pick vamp.
I would too. I think I am going to go that way with you as well too. I think it's going to be a cleaner type of lifestyle going on. So I think that I am going to go with vampires. Well too. I think you sold me on that one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've talked about this a couple of times.
We
And
have.
so my love for the vampire lifestyle if I had to choose one.
I do. I do. I do. Hey, whatever allows me to sink my teeth into you, Taryn.
I'm going with you to the vampire world.
There we go. There we go. That's right.
All right, so um let's talk about
Sure.
oh well here, I want to say what Jossie said because she brought something up here. And I want to say hi to April if she's still watching. Hi, bestie. Um Somebody gave you a compliment. Beth Allen, she said, Ron is an amazing man. I got to meet him at Monster Con in West Virginia. It was an honor to sit on a panel with him. Oh, that's nice.
That's very, very kind. Although I'm thinking Beth may be thinking that I'm somebody else because I was never at MonsterCon.
Oh.
That's okay though, Beth. That's okay. I was at. I've spoken twice in West Virginia. One was at Dave Spinks's weird and wonderful little shop down there, and the other one was at the town hall in a place called Richwood, West Virginia. So those are the two places that I spoke. But I'm wondering who she might have thought that was me. I'm curious now.
I'm curious. Jossie said, I want to go to the Bigfoot event in Pennsylvania next September. Are you going? I might make Taryn come with me.
I will be speaking there, Jocelyn, and that would be awesome if Taryn would come because you should do Paranormal Brew live right there.
Yes. So Bigfoot, though. Bigfoot, huh? Where at in Pennsylvania?
It's going to be not too far away from where I am. It's going to be in the beautiful Chestnut Ridge, where I do a majority of my research. But yeah, in Farmington, Pennsylvania, that's in Fayette County, and it's going to be awesome. These are truly one of my favorite events.
Well, I mean, I've never been to one before.
Oh, you are missing out.
A Bigfoot thing. I've never been to one, so maybe I will.
You are missing out.
I'm sure it's fun. Listen, the thing is, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I have yet to be convinced that Bigfoot exists.
Me too.
But I definitely, and again, I'm not saying he doesn't exist, but I can't say that he does either.
Right, we're in the same boat, my dear. I need to have, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, right? So I'm not going to go and say, yes, there's definitely one out there, because the skeptical side of me says that it would be almost impossible for an apex predator like that to exist in our world today.
Without
the amount of calories that would take. What's that?
Without people not seeing it.
Absolutely, exactly right. That's the thing, is that
so big,
right? And it would make so. Whenever I was down in Texas, they're having a difficult time down there with wild pigs, right? Because they're rooting around and destroying, the landscape and everything. Now, imagine a creature that is 1,000, walking through your backyard. It would leave proof everywhere. It wouldn't be that we would be casting one track. There would be tracks all over the place. There would be poop all over the place because these animals have to do things that animals do. They have to eat. They have to go to the bathroom, and they have to make little Bigfoot, right? They have to do all that stuff. And we would see proof of that everywhere. The reason why we go deer hunting, and the reason why we go deer hunting certain times of the year is because that's whenever the bucks are in rut, right? They're looking for females. They're less wary. They're running all over the place. And that is the reason why our game season in Pennsylvania is set for those particular months that the rut's going on. And you can imagine if a Bigfoot does come into heat, or if it's like a person, they're just, they have an open kind of a mating season. It would be madness. It would be the male chasing the female all over the place, or what have you. Even if they're closer to humans, there's still going to be fights. There's still going to be claims for territory. It's not going to be a pretty situation.
I mean, and that's what I said. I've always said, like, how come we never found bones? How come there's no burials? How come there's no, and then somebody had brought up a point, well, do you ever see rabbit bones in the woods, or do you ever see, and honestly, no, but, I'm not looking for it. There's people that actually are going out looking for this stuff all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I've come across a lot of dead deer in the woods. I've come across, raccoon that were dead. What's that?
I don't play in the woods very often.
Right. No, but people go out there looking all the time for antlers, antler sheds.
Yes.
And also you have to keep in mind about this as well, too. And this is the things that I bring up as well. People kill people all the time, and they take their remains out into the woods and they hide them and they're always found because people are everywhere. People are
Yes.
nosy. They get into things they shouldn't be getting into. And if there was Bigfoot out there in physical form, it would be seen all the time.
Yeah, something. There'd be something by
Yep.
now.
Yep.
I mean, it's just crazy to me. Like, and here's the other thing: I don't believe in the Jersey Devil. I can say I don't believe in the Jersey Devil.
Yes. Yeah, I think there's a lot of mythology there. Um, it's kind of like a witch story. You know, I unless of course the whole lead story is a myth to explain what was going on there. But people have said the Jersey Devil was a bat, an exotic bat that was brought over on a ship, an unidentified flying, bird, whether it was known to science or not. Some people have said, pterodactyl or something from the age of dinosaurs. I'm not sure what was going on there, but again, you and I have very similar thoughts on this. If it is a biological animal, then it has to act like a biological animal. And they can be elusive, they can hide, but they also have to get from place to place. And they also have to eat and do everything else that an animal does. And one day, an animal is going to slip up. I mean, we hit mountain lions in cars. You know what I mean? One of these days, an animal is going to slip up and come in contact with human beings. And for some strange reason, it hasn't happened to any of these cryptids. And the reason why, in my opinion, these haven't happened to any of these cryptids is because they are not solely biological creatures. Now that opens up the whole idea of, interdimensionality and things like that, which we probably don't necessarily have to go into because that's a whole other show and that's a whole can of worms. But I'm also suggesting that the people that are having experiences aren't making these experiences up. They are seeing something. They are definitely encountering something that should not be there. And that is the reason why you and I are still searching, Taryn.
That's absolutely true. Everybody says like, oh, I feel like we're forever going to be searching. I mean, what happens one day if I'm doing my show and a ghost sits down and just starts talking to everybody?
Right.
Then what?
So I thought about this the other day as well, too. What happens if the paranormal becomes normal?
Yeah.
And the way it becomes normal is that for some strange reason, a scientist can calculate what's going to happen and analyze it or pin it down onto a table. And once that happens, once it has its mystique taken off of it, and once it becomes nothing more than a specimen, there's really nothing left anymore out there. We need these creatures out there to make us more human. I've said this before. We believe that we are the paragon of all creation, that we know all, that we have figured out the rules of the universe, and that we have attained the level of the divine. What these creatures do is they keep us humble. These creatures are the hubris that we as collective humanity need, because we need to be afraid of things that go bump in the night. And we also need wild places. We need wild places because it separates us from them. And the more chance that there's them out there, the more chance of us staying human.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I'm like, I honestly, now I just want to like, because I believe in ghosts, I believe in spirits or whatever you want to call them, entities or whatever. I believe in that stuff. Now I just want to like have fun investigating, and
Exactly.
getting my EVPs. And it's not so much to me as proving it to anybody. It's just now it's like, okay, I believe this. I could let my Vickers here, listen to it and say, this is what I hear. And he could disagree with me all day long, but he's not going to convince me if I think that, just as much as I'm not going to convince him that it is an EVP, if he thinks it isn't, it's just
Right.
perception.
But I think whenever it comes to the world of ghosts, I think that you would find it very difficult in a room of 100 people to find maybe 5 people to kind of naysay it. I
Right.
think so many people have had their own personal experience with either the afterlife or something strange that shouldn't have happened. I think ghosts are kind of like a no brainer now. Like, it's not even anything that I would argue with anybody. I think that so many people have had experiences with what we call ghosts that it is to the point now where it should be accepted by everybody. And I think even science, in a lot of regards, has tracked it down and not proved it in any way, but at least suggested the possibility of it happening. And that's all that we really need to go on. But yeah, I think that it's a lot easier to sell the idea of a ghost than it is a Bigfoot or a dog man or a Mothman.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to become frustrating. I mean, what keeps me going, you know, is I always say that I first started out with like meteor showers. I can compare it to a meteor shower. Like you're up there, you're watching the meteor showers, and you could be looking up at the sky for an hour and see nothing, you know. But then all of a sudden, you see like one go flying by, and you're like, "Oh, I want to see another one." So
Mm,
you'll sit out there for another hour, hoping you're going to see another one, you know. And then you see two. You're like, "Oh my god!" And then you'll wait 3 hours just to see another one, maybe, you know. But you're up for like all the many hours you're doing that. So I'd say, you know, when I'm investigating and I get my recorders out and, you know, I'm hearing disembodied voices, I'm catching EVPs on the recorder, that's what keeps me going,
I
you
agree.
know, because I want more. It's like, or I want to figure this out. So when you're doing like, when a lot of the people that do the Bigfoot stuff and the cryptids and stuff, is I would be frustrated because it's like, you know, how many times can you do an investigation? How many times can you go out there? How many times can you do all this stuff and you don't find anything? Like, what keeps you going?
Right, right, right. Well, I think that the times I have encountered something is what keeps me going. You know,
Right.
I have witnessed balls rolling across the floor before, and I've witnessed windows opening before, and I've witnessed, you know, what I believe is the figure of my deceased grandmother standing at the foot of my bed talking with me. Right? These are all very personal things, um, especially the ghost of my grandmother because that's very subjective. But the other thing with a child's ball rolling across the floor, that was a part of an investigation with a multitude of people, and the window opening and closing, that was also part of an investigation. So a lot of the things that I've experienced are very personal, but then a lot of the things I experienced was very part of a social aspect
Right.
as well
Right.
too. So that's what keeps me going. And also, you know, as a Bigfoot investigator, you know, finding a track that you can't explain, or hearing a howl, or hearing a whistle, or a wood knock. Those are the things that keep me going as well too. Because whenever you're out there in the wee hours of the morning and you hear something that does not simply fit in, then some part of you thinks, well, you know what? There is something out here, and that's what keeps me going as well too. And hearing people's reports at conferences, you know, that's one of my favorite things about going to a conference is meeting these people because they come up and tell me their stories, and I know that they're not lying, and I'm trying to understand along with them what they experienced.
Hmm. Interesting. I think like, so how, when you hear a whistle or you hear a wood knock, I mean, I don't know anything about Bigfoot investigating or research, so my questions might be not smart. But um, how do you go about investigating those noises? Like, do you, to make sure that it's not a natural or somebody else in the woods messing with you? You know what I mean? It's,
Right.
yeah,
Well, you can't. I mean, that's what keeps you going out there again and again and again because you can't unless you see it happening. You really have no idea what's going on, right? So I've heard what I can define as a wood knock twice, and both of the times it sounded like a major league home run, you know, hit off of a bat, and it was just one smack. The reason why, whenever I go out into the woods and other people go out in the woods, the reason why I do multiple knocks on a tree. And I don't do this all the time, but this is like whenever you go out on an investigation, you take people with you. This is the kind of woo that they want to see, especially if you're being filmed. So you want to include some of these things in there because it makes for sensationalism, But whenever I knock on a tree, or whenever most investigators knock on a tree, they do a series of 3 knocks because you want to have a sequential series going on. In case if there's something out in the woods, they may knock back 3 times, and that's the way it's not an animal. But the things that I heard were wood knocks. It was only a one-time knock, And we don't even know if Bigfoot communicate this way. Hell, we don't even know if Bigfoot exists. But people that have suggested that this is the way Bigfoot communicates may make sense. I mean, we do have, images in the margins of medieval manuscripts that show these creatures that look like hairy wild men. Well, they were called wild men back then, but they look like what we would call Bigfoot nowadays. And in their hand, they had a stick. And that might be their iconography for the way they communicated. So it's very possible that this is something that's, a very ancient knowledge, that this is what they were associated with. But again, I've never seen one. And what is going to convince me that there's a Bigfoot out there is if there is a body. That's the only way that this is the only way that Audubon, and Lewis and Clark and all these other great investigators into the world of the flora and fauna of our great country, or really any place around the world, even, Charles Darwin, the only way there's going to be a belief is by bringing a specimen back. It's a shame to say that's the way the human mind works. We want to see something. We want to touch something. So until that happens with any of these cryptids, there's always going to be the idea that, this is only a 50-50, thing, that there is something out there that's biological.
Yeah. What about, do you believe in Loch Ness? Is Loch Ness considered a cryptid?
I believe in Loch Ness, and a good buddy of mine, Andy McGrath, who is a superb researcher. He is doing a great investigation over there right now, and Ken Gearhart just joined him not too long ago, because one of the largest, well, really the largest explorations of the loch with modern types of equipment, with updated equipment and drones and things, is going on right now. And I do hope that they discover something out there. The whole problem is the Loch Ness is a deep lake. It's not very biodiverse. It's not very large either. It's not like, the Great Lakes or anything. It's only about a mile wide and, 20 some miles long. So we're not talking about an extensive piece of property here. And if this creature is a reptile, a holdover from the age of reptiles, then it has to come up for air, which means you would see it on the surface. So is it possible that at one time there was a creature in and around that environment that people assumed or people called the Loch Ness Monster? I think that is fair to say. But is there something in there now? And like I said, I've personally been on Loch Ness before on a boat. I think there's so many people out there looking that if there was something out there, as soon as it would come up for a breath, there would be a dozen photographs on it.
Yeah. Because the body of water isn't that big. Right?
No. Yeah. It's very, very deep. But again, nothing's going to go to the very bottom of that loch. We're lying to ourselves if we think that is what's going on, that there's some huge creature laying on the bottom, a mile down or 800 feet down, and that's where it's hiding, because that's just not the way animals like that work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously it would have to, somebody would see it at some point.
Yeah.
Like the thing with the Bigfoots. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly.
So you're going to be speaking. I don't know what show is in September. I'll go. She wants to go.
That's perfect. Yeah, so that will be in September of next year, right? So we're a year away, and it's a great thing. It's just where a lot of like-minded people get together, and they camp, and there's talks, and there's.
Oh, this is an outside thing?
It is. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wait a second. Is it in the woods?
It's around the woods. It's not in the woods. No.
Okay. How close are we to the woods?
Probably within walking distance, but the cabin that I stayed in last time we had it there had cable television, running water, and three beds.
Oh, so there's cabins we can stay in.
Oh yes, look,
We're not
yes,
we're not tenting it, right? We're
no,
not bringing tents and we're out there for the wrong turn people to come
right,
out the woods and
right.
steal them.
This is going to ruin my street cred, but I will tell you right now, I deplore camping. I think that it's cosplaying that you're homeless. I really do not like it at all. So yeah,
Cosplay at your home.
yes, I do
That's
not like
funny.
it at all. Yes, yes,
I
yes.
like glamping, but not.
Oh my goodness, yeah, absolutely. And as long as I can go back in at night and watch Family Guy and take a nice hot shower and lay in a bed that has sheets, that's fine with me. But I do need those kind of creature comforts. I do. We've struggled for 200,000 years to get out of the woods. And now that we're out of the woods, I don't see any reason for us to go back in.
I agree, 1000%.
Yeah,
Um, the only woods that I can go in, and I always say this is the Gettysburg.
yeah,
For some reason, that's like a safe place. Like I don't feel like I'm not afraid of those woods at all. Every other woods I'm afraid of.
right. Yeah,
Um,
I know you have quite an affinity towards that area, and I'm thinking it has to be almost a past life thing because you seem so utterly connected to that area.
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Um, I I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I'm thankful for it because before I ever had, I mean, like I look back and I'm like, geez, my life was just so like, I feel, having something like a place like that to go to and hopefully one day live in, you know, it's my natural Xanax. It's my Calgon. You know what I mean? So that's how I get my my R&R.
Right. Well, my son, because I spoke twice in Gettysburg, and my one son says, and I think this is very true to the point. He said it's a lot like Salem, and I think that is true. That a history happened there that is very unique from other places. And it has that same type of draw. It has that same type of mystique. And I think that for whatever reason, people are drawn to these particular epicenters, these power points that are on our landscape. And I really think that that is what's going on with you. I think you're drawn to that place for something that happened to you. I really feel that way.
I mean, I mean, it is
She's getting
possible.
obsessed. Yes, Jocelyn. I agree.
Uh-huh.
Like just Jocelyn said, you're getting obsessed. And I like Salem. I'm a Salem guy myself. I like that area. I love Rhode Island and I like all the history that's there. So if I could end up any place, that's where I would end up. But I do understand why Gettysburg does have such an attraction and appeal to you because there is a lot of similarities.
Yeah, the Gettysburg is. I mean, it's got everything I love: the
Uh,
history, the paranormal, nice people.
nice people, good food. They
Yeah,
have
the
great
food's
wings.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I wouldn't miss anything in Jersey.
that's right.
I wouldn't miss shit.
That's right. That's right.
Um, yes, it is my heart and soul. Absolutely. Um, yeah. So, and to me, that is like, it's the best place on the universe, hands down. Um, oh, sorry, that was you. I'm putting your
That's
comment
okay.
up.
That's okay. I'm trying to keep up with everybody. I don't want anybody to think that I'm missing them.
I know. Well, I had some starred. I don't know if Jossie heard that. I guess I'm going with her. I can't, leave no man behind. So I'll go with
It's
her.
leave no man behind. That's right. And you really will. I mean, I know how you like to network. You do a great job doing that. And you really will get a chance to meet a lot of people that are in the
Yeah.
Bigfoot field. And I think that if you would, bring up a mic and let's do a couple podcasts up there, I think you'll get some interesting conversations.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it would be great. And maybe I can get some of them to come on and you know what I mean? Because I do try to have people, well, me and you talk about Bigfoot a lot,
Oh, yeah.
but definitely, yes, anybody that knows me, I network. I love networking. I love talking to people. I love meeting new people, and I love hearing people's spiel and what makes them quirk. You know
That's right.
what their thing is. What do you got coming up?
Um, on okay, at the end of the month, the last Saturday of September, I will be in beautiful Johnstown, Pennsylvania, at a paranormal conference talking about the Bigfoot UFO connection. And then October 13th, I will be in Harlan, Kentucky, talking about vampires. And as an added treat, I love historical reenactments. I worked with the Underground Railroad Museum here in Western Pennsylvania for a number of years. And if you go see me in Harlan doing the talk on vampires, later that evening, I will be reenacting a character that talks about vampires in the history of Harlan.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm looking forward to this like nobody's business. I cannot wait. I really am excited. And like I said, next year we're going to have the Bigfoot camping adventure. And it's just exciting right now because I've gotten to the point where I can do a lot of these conferences with people that I really do enjoy being around, right?
That's awesome.
And that means a lot to me. So,
That can't.
and I
That's
hope our paths cross. I hope our paths cross a lot next year.
yeah. I mean, it's not like Pennsylvania is not far.
Mm,
You know,
it's not.
how far are you from Gettysburg?
I'm 3 hours from Gettysburg, so I would think that you're something like 2 hours away from the Bigfoot camping area.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm 2.5 from Gettysburg. So
yeah, not too bad. Yeah, and I hope I get an offer to come there again next year because anytime you're in the same room, it's a good place to be.
oh, I love you.
I love you too, Taryn, and I hope we do this more often.
We should, right?
We
I
should,
love
yeah.
having you on. Like the conversation is always so. This is the thing. I've been doing it. I've been doing this a long time too, and I feel like I've learned a lot along the way. But your sponge, you're like
Mhm.
your sponge is like so much. Like how do you retain all that information?
See, I appreciate that very much, but I really think that it depends upon who is doing the interviewing because this could be a very boring conversation, my dear. So I think that you need to give yourself credit. The only reason why I am able to do a good job on your show is because you ask the pertinent questions and you bring out that in me. So let's say that that is your
Oh, thank you.
that is your expertise as an interviewer that's allowing these shows to go so well.
Thank you. Again, you're making me blush.
It's all good. It's all good. No, but our hours fly by here, my dear. Our hours fly by,
I
and
know.
but yeah, I can't wait to be on with you again. I'm looking forward to it.
I know, absolutely. I love you so much. I love you, love you, love you. I thank you so
Yes,
much for coming on. I
no worries, my dear.
thank you everybody for checking in and chatting it up and saying hey.
They were great.
Yeah, everybody's always awesome. I love it. And we'll have to set up another date.
I cannot wait. Just let me know, my dear. Let me know, and I will hopefully have a little bit more rest than having coming back from Dallas, and I'm still
I
trying to fight
know.
that fatigue. But yeah, next time I cannot wait. Anytime you need me, I'll be there.
Absolutely. I love you. Thanks, Penny. Um, I love you. I will let you go get some sleep.
Thank you very
Thank
much, my dear. I will. I'm going to get some sleep. I think that I'm going to get some tea as well too. Started to experience some throat problems and such. I'm going to try to nip everything in the bud before it gets out of hand.
I love you. Thanks for
Love you too,
coming on.
Taryn. If
Thank
you
you
need
for
me for
coming.
anything, you give me a call. I'm your number one fan.
Oh, I love you. Thank you, Ron. Sending you big huggies.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
See you soon. Well, that was awesome. I want to thank everybody for joining me this evening. I won't be on next week. I am on vacation, going to Myrtle Beach Friday. So I will be on vacation, like not even, I'm out. I'm gone. Done. No paranormal, no work, no nothing. Vacation. So I will see you guys in 2. But thank you so much for joining me this evening. All my besties, April, Jossie, Maggie. Saw you guys all on Danger. Thank you so much. I love you guys, and I will See you guys next time.